Hi, I'm Jen Davies. I'm the Manager of Career Development Services at the Academic Advising and Career Center. And it's my pleasure to welcome parents and family members to get started. So at this point, I'd like to shift the conversation over to talking about careers. There are many paths to the same destination. Some of you may have lived this experience as well. And I wanted to take a few minutes to share some alumni stories of wonderful alumni who took alternate routes to different places. So I'd like to start with a popular destination, accounting. So a lot of students come to our business programs and they're interested in accounting, but then I meet history grads who say, oh, like I just discovered accounting and it's actually really interesting and it fits with their history skills, right? Because in history, what you learn is how to categorize information. And that's what accountants do. It's just very specifically financial information, right? So how do you become an accountant? Well, the good news is you actually don't have to do a business degree. I mean, certainly you can, because that'll make the process way faster, but you actually don't have to complete a business degree. You do need a degree though, okay? So complete a degree, business, science, arts, they're all good. And then step 2 is to take the required professional type courses that are offered on behalf of or by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. And then step 3 is to write and pass the required exams, which are called PEP and CFE, in case you're curious. And that's it. So anyone can do those things. Now, those with a business degree, especially those who took accounting, will take fewer courses in step 2, right? Because they've already done a whole bunch of accounting classes if they have a degree in accounting. But anyone else can catch up. It's totally okay. My hypothetical history grad, they will never be an auditor. Okay, so that's just one kind of job of many different kinds of jobs in accounting. So they will not be allowed to be an auditor, but they can be any other kind of accountant they would like. Auditing is just one little sliver of accounting. And I'd also like to highlight that this sort of multiple routes to a destination is also true for a variety of different kinds of business, marketing, HR, finance. Students don't have to have done the business degree. Again, certainly it's a shortcut and it's a much more direct path to get there. But you can absolutely enter many other fields of business by taking professional type courses and completing the appropriate exams. So I'd like to tell you about Hamza Khan. Hamza earned his Honors Bachelor of Arts in English. And while he was a student, actually he may even have started it in high school, but I'll take credit and say that he might have started it while he was a student at U of T Scarborough. He founded as a side hustle his own very successful marketing company, which he then sold and made a tidy profit. And but he still loves education as an industry. So he is currently the managing director at something called the Student Life Network, which also has a sister site, the Parent Life Network. So do feel free to check those out. He's very well spoken. He was our keynote speaker at our convocation a couple of years ago, and by all accounts, it was an excellent speech. So please do check him out. Let's talk about computer science and computer programming. So how do you become a computer programmer? Well, obviously, studying computer science is a nice, easy, direct way to get there. But you don't have to have a degree in computer science to become a computer programmer. It really depends on what kind of computer programmer you want to be. So how do you become a computer programmer? Well, step 1, develop programming skills and programming strategies, right? Which of course you could learn in computer science, but doesn't have to be. Step 2 would be, and this is true for our computer science students as well, participate in hackathons and competitions and take projects, earn some money taking projects and really, hone your skills. While really taking on these opportunities to really do programming, not just assignments, but really doing programming that's going to be used somewhere. And then step 3 would be to develop a portfolio. GitHub is typically recommended for anyone interested in the computer programming field. And use that portfolio to demonstrate your ability to code. include it on your resume. So I encourage students studying anything relating to computing, so that's math, stats, computer science, you know, really show off those projects that you've completed by putting them on GitHub and then putting your GitHub link on your resume. Because anyone can say they can program in Python, but can you really, right? Prove it. And so GitHub lets you prove it. So I'd like to introduce you to Derrick Fung. Derrick actually completed his Bachelor of Business Administration. So he wasn't in computer science at all. And then he founded a platform called Tunesy. And Tunesy was an online platform for connecting fans and musicians, particularly with merchandise. But it required quite a bit of programming because it was very web heavy and required connections to multiple websites. It was quite the complex thing. And likewise, he sold it and made a tidy profit. And he is now the founder and CEO of Drop, which is an app that connects consumers with well-known retailers and a points incentive system. I would encourage you to check that out as well. I have earned myself a number of Tim Hortons gift cards, which is my favorite treat. So please do feel free to check out Derrick and check out his app Drop as well. And then I'd like to talk about healthcare because there are so many different kinds of roles in healthcare. And I like to think as we're you know, more exposed to healthcare in the news while COVID-19 is creating some challenges for us, that we're becoming more aware of the different kinds of healthcare professionals that are out there, because there's way more to healthcare than going to medical school. So in general, how do you become any kind of healthcare professional? Well, of course, earn high grades in your bachelor's studies and take relevant prerequisite courses. Now, some fields have more specific prerequisite courses than others. So for example, nursing, going on to a 2-year compressed nursing program, there are typically some very specific requirements to complete. But they're not hard to get, and you can typically complete them by the end of your second year if you're in something like a biology program. Step 2, get involved on campus and again, gain your skills, particularly people skills. You know, they can teach you all the technology, all the health strategies, but it's very important that you can demonstrate that you can work with people and science, but especially people, right? Because healthcare is really about the people that you're taking care of. And then apply to a wide range of programs. So here are some healthcare professions that you may or may not be familiar with. So respiratory therapists work both in the hospital and in the community, helping with everything from surgery to CPAP machines. Occupational therapists and physical therapists, of course, work with people to prevent injury, but also, of course, very frequently post-injury to help them recover. And then, of course, there are medical laboratory technologists, who are probably the most important people in society right now, because they're helping to figure out how do we develop the vaccine for COVID-19. And there's so many more kinds of healthcare roles. We'd be happy to talk with your student. We host education fairs every year. We encourage your student to join us, even from first year. Just so you know, the fair is typically at the end of September, beginning of October. So your students should start paying attention at the end of September if they'd like to know what else is out there in healthcare, if they're inspired. So I'd like to share with you the story of Christa Studzinski. Christa did her honors Bachelor of Science in Psychology and Neuroscience here at U of T Scarborough. And then she did a PhD in pharmacology, which you might not think of when you think of psychology and neuroscience, except for drugs and the brain. Very, very important, very influential course actually called Drugs in the Brain at U of T Scarborough. Inspires a lot of people, a lot of students at our campus to think about pharmacology. So she co-founded a research organization, and I believe it was the same place that she works now, which is the Ontario Brain Institute. So she's currently the manager of partnerships at the Ontario Brain Institute. And what they do is they try to bring all of the really excellent scientific discoveries that are being made in hospitals and universities and commercializing them and spreading them, because American institutions seem to be very good. They seem to have the mechanisms to be disseminating their discoveries pretty effectively. We're not as good at that across Canada. It's not just an Ontario challenge, it's a challenge across the country. And so her goal is to spread all the cool ideas and discoveries that we're making. So very cool story. So do feel free to check out the Ontario Brain Institute. So again, to remind you, we are here to help your student navigate their transitions, their transition in to U of T, their transition through U of T, and their transition out of U of T. We're here for them. We help them to make their own decisions. We talk them through with them. We make sure they understand, of course, university policy, but ensure that they have the opportunity to make decisions that are best fit for them. We help to create opportunities for students to develop skills and to grow as people. And we connect students to support resources on campus. So students should not hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you so much for joining us for Get Started. Your student has access to all kinds of information in an online module. We encourage them to make the best use of it. Your student has a first-year peer mentor. So we encourage your student to connect with their first-year peer mentor. And we look forward to working with you and your student over the next few years.